"Perhaps Mr. Neil Gibson has told you something of what occurred between us?" she asked in a low, agitated voice. "Yes," Holmes answered. "You need not pain yourself by entering into that part of the story. After seeing you, I am prepared to accept Mr. Gibson's statement both as to the influence which you had over him and as to the innocence of your relations with him. But why was the whole situation not brought out in court? It seemed to me incredible that such a charge could be sustained. I thought that if we waited, the whole thing must clear itself up without our being compelled to enter into painful details of the inner life of the family. But I understand that far from clearing it has become even more serious." "My dear young lady," cried Holmes earnestly, "I beg you to have no illusions upon the point. Mr. Cummings here would assure you that all the cards are at present against us, and that we must do everything that is possible if we are to win clear. It would be a cruel deception to pretend that you are not in very great danger. Give me all the help you can, then, to get at the truth. I will conceal nothing. Tell us, then, of your true relations with Mr. Gibson's wife." "She hated me, Mr. Holmes. She hated me with all the fervour of her tropical nature. She was a woman who would do nothing by halves, and the measure of her love for her husband was the measure also of her hatred for me. It is probable that she's misunderstood our relations. I would not wish to wrong her, but she loved so vividly in a physical sense that she could hardly understand the mental and even spiritual tie which held her husband to me, or imagine that it was only my desire to influence his power to good ends which kept me under his roof. I can see now that I was wrong. Nothing could justify me in remaining where I was a case of unhappiness, and yet it is certain that the unhappiness would have remained even if I had left the house. Now, Miss Dunbar," said Holmes, "I beg you to tell us exactly what occurred that evening." "I can tell you the truth so far as I know it, Mr. Holmes, but I am in a position to prove nothing, and there are points, the most vital points, which I can neither explain nor can I imagine any explanation. If you will find the facts, perhaps others may find the explanation. With regard, then, to my presence at Thorbridge that night, I received a note from Mrs. Gibson in the morning. It lay on the table of the schoolroom, and it may have been left there by her own hand. It implored me to see her there after dinner, said she had something important to say to me, and asked me to leave an answer on the sundial in the garden, as she desired no one to be in our confidence. I saw no reason for such secrecy, but I did as she asked, accepting the appointment. She asked me to destroy her note, and I burned it in the schoolroom grate. She was very much afraid of her husband, who treated her with a harshness for which I frequently reproached him, and I could only imagine that she acted in this way because she did not wish him to know of our interview. Yet she kept your reply very carefully. Yes, I was surprised to hear that she had it in her hand when she died. Well, what happened then? I went down as I had promised. When I reached the bridge she was waiting for me. Never did I realize till the moment how this poor creature hated me. She was like a madwoman. Indeed, I think she was a madwoman, subtly mad with the deep power of deception which insane people may have. How else could she have met me with unconcern every day, and yet had so raging a hatred for me in her heart? I will not say what she said. She poured her whole wild fury out in burning and horrible words. I did not even answer. I could not. It was dreadful to see her. I put my hands to my ears and rushed away. When I left her, she was standing, still shrieking out her curses at me, in the mouth of the bridge, where she was afterwards found, within a few yards from the spot. And yet, presuming that she met her death shortly after you left her, you heard no shot? No, I heard nothing. But indeed, Mr. Holmes, I was so agitated and horrified by this terrible outbreak, that I rushed to get back to the peace of my own room, and I was incapable of noticing anything which happened. You say that you returned to your room. Did you leave it again before next morning? Yes, when the alarm came that the poor creature had met her death, I ran out with the others. Did you see Mr. Gibson? Yes, he had just returned from the bridge when I saw him. He had sent for the doctor and the police. Did he seem to you much perturbed? Mr. Gibson is a very strong, self-contained man. I do not think that he would ever show his emotions on the surface, but I, who knew him so well, could see that he was deeply concerned. Then we come to the all-important point. This pistol that was found in your room, had you ever seen it before? Never, I swear it. When was it found? Next morning, when the police made their search. Among your clothes? Yes, on the floor of my wardrobe under my dresses. You could not guess how long it had been there. It had not been there the morning before. How do you know? Because I tidied out the wardrobe. That is final. Then someone came into your room and placed the pistol there in order to inculpate you. It must have been so. And when? It could only have been at mealtime, or else at the hours when I would be in the schoolroom with the children. As you were when you got this note? Yes, from that time onwards for the whole morning. Thank you, Miss Dunbar. Is there any other point which could help me in this investigation? I can think of one. There was some sign of violence on the stonework of the bridge, a perfectly fresh chip just opposite the body. Could you suggest any possible explanation of that? Surely it must be a mere coincidence. Curious, Miss Dunbar, very curious. Why should it appear at the very time of the tragedy, and why at the very place? But what could have caused it? Only great violence could have such an effect. Holmes did not answer. His pale, eager face had suddenly assumed that tense, faraway expression which I had learned to associate with the supreme manifestations of his genius. So evident was the crisis in his mind that none of us dared to speak, and we sat, barrister, prisoner, and myself, watching him in a concentrated and absorbed silence. Suddenly he sprang from his chair, vibrating with nervous energy and the pressing need for action. "Come, Watson, come," he cried. "What is it, Mr. Holmes?" "Never mind, my dear lady. You will hear from me, Mr. Cummings. With the help of the God of Justice, I will give you a case which will make England ring. You will get news by tomorrow, Miss Dunbar, and meanwhile take my assurance that the clouds are lifting, and that I have every hope that the light of truth is breaking through." It was not a long journey from Winchester to Thor Place, but it was long to me in my impatience, while for Holmes it was evident that it seemed endless. For in his nervous restlessness he could not sit still, but paced the carriage or drummed with his long, sensitive fingers upon the cushions beside him. Suddenly, however, as we neared our destination, he seated himself opposite me. We had a first-class carriage to ourselves, and laying a hand upon each of my knees, he looked into my eyes with the mischievous gaze which was characteristic of his more imp-like moods. "Watson," said he, "I have some recollection that you go armed upon these excursions of ours." It was as well for him that I did so, for he took little care for his own safety when his mind was once absorbed by a problem, so that more than once my revolver had been a good friend in need. I reminded him of the fact. Yes, I am a little absent-minded in such matters, but have you your revolver on you?" I produced it from my hip pocket, a short, handy, but very serviceable little weapon. He undid the catch, shook out the cartridges, and examined it with care. "It's heavy, remarkably heavy," said he. "Yes, it is a solid bit of work. Do you know, Watson," said he, "I believe your revolver is going to have a very intimate connection with the mystery that we are investigating." "My dear Holmes, you are joking." "No, Watson, I am very serious. There is a test before us. If the test comes off, all will be clear, and the test will depend on the conduct of this little weapon. One cartridge out. Now we will replace the other 5 and put on the safety catch. So, that increases the weight and makes it a better reproduction." I had no glimmer of what was in his mind, nor did he enlighten me, but sat lost in thought until we pulled up in the little Hampshire station. We secured a ramshackle trap, and in a quarter of an hour were at the house of our confidential friend, the sergeant. "A clue, Mr. Holmes. What is it?"